Are you struggling to perform under pressure? Maybe you're an elite athlete whose performance in competition is worse than in practice. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur whose pitches to investors are hampered by nerves. You've worked hard to achieve your dreams only to get derailed when it really counts. I'm Dr. Chris Friesen from Friesen Performance, where I help you achieve your greatest potential by optimizing your psychology, physiology, and neurology. In this video, I'm going to show you why your anxiety and pressure situations is not the problem you think it is, and what you should be doing instead. Have you experienced nerves or anxiety in pressure situations? Maybe it was a job interview, a tryout, an audition, or a presentation. Nobody likes the feeling of anxiety, especially when you're trying to perform. You've probably tried to think positively or take a couple of deep breaths in these big moments, but I bet they didn't help you too much. I know what it's like. I remember struggling in pressure situations. It's like when I was a hockey goalie, or when I was defending my master's thesis or PhD dissertation, or even when I was doing forensic evaluations of dangerous criminals. The hardest part of it was the sense that I was the only one feeling like this. It was an uncomfortable and lonely feeling. It makes you doubt yourself. The truth is, getting anxious and underperforming in pressure situations is more common than you think. What kind of pressure situations do you struggle with? Let me know in the comments below. Most elite athletes that want to work with me complain that they're underperforming during competition compared to training or practice. The first thing they need to understand is that feeling anxious in pressure situations is normal. Some of the biggest misconceptions that high performers have when they come to work with me is that high performers shouldn't feel anxious in pressure situations or don't feel anxious in pressure situations, and that peak performance occurs when you have little to no anxiety. These are both false. The truth is, we need a moderate level of anxiety, or what we call activation, to perform at our best. As I'm sure you know, having too much anxiety, going into a panic mode, can lead to underperformance. But having very low or no anxiety is just as detrimental. If you're liking this content, hit the like button. And if you want to learn more about how to optimize your psychology, physiology, and neurology, hit the subscribe button. A number of years ago, I worked with a martial artist who is struggling to perform under pressure. He told me how, when he practices or trains with some of these athletes, he can beat them relatively easily in training. But when he faced them in competition, he really struggled. He told me that he was often extremely anxious at the beginning of competitions. He noted that he wanted to be more like this Eastern European martial artist, who was one of the best in the world. So I asked him to tell me more about this athlete. Well, he said this athlete was so relaxed, he would take a nap sometimes before his matches, whereas the athlete I was working with was experiencing a ton of anxiety. So I asked him to tell me a bit more about this other athlete. It turned out this other athlete would often lose the first few points in the match, but then would have a comeback and win. And this was sort of his style. And this made a lot of sense to me. This is referred to as the Yerkes-Dodson law. It has to do with our performance relative to our level of anxiety or activation. When our anxiety is too high, we underperform. Similarly, when our anxiety or activation is too low, we underperform as well. And there's a sweet spot in the middle, which is moderate levels of anxiety and activation. So it appeared that this Eastern Bloc athlete, who would usually lose the first points before coming back, would have low anxiety or activation before the match, and it wasn't until they started to lose some points that their adrenaline started pumping and their anxiety and activation went up. So this other athlete's performance is also in line with the Yerkes-Dodson law. I've worked with countless elite athletes and other high performers that come to me asking me to help them eliminate their anxiety, their performance anxiety, or to give them a trick that'll help them control their anxiety. Because we learn so much better from experience than logic or talk, I usually set them up for an experiment. I'm board certified in biofeedback and neurofeedback, so I have a lot of interesting gadgets in my office. What I usually do is set them up on a device that measures their stress response. It's called the galvanic skin response. It measures the activation of our sweat glands in our fingers, which is a highly accurate measure of stress and effort. I then show them a monitor where it shows them a graph of their stress response. When the line on the graph goes up, it means the stress response is activated. When it comes down, it means the stress response is not being activated. What's interesting about this is a lot of this is below our level of awareness. I then tell them to do what they normally do to try to control their stress or anxiety, to try and force that line to go down, to try to control the anxiety. And almost always what happens, instead of it going down, the line starts to go up and up and up. It's only when I tell them to stop trying, to just observe the line graph and allow the anxiety to come down. It's only then does it actually come down. It's similar to when we try to sleep. The harder we try to sleep, the less likely we're going to fall asleep. It's actually a process of letting go. Once we let go, we allow our body to sleep. Similarly, once we let go, we can allow our stress to do what it's going to do. If we fight it, it only makes it worse. This often leads to an aha moment for them. They experience it. They've been trying to control their anxiety all this time, and now they see and physically sense how it's making things worse. It's making their stress and activation levels go up instead of down. They have to just allow and let go. The problem isn't that you feel anxious in pressure situations. This is normal. This is expected. The problem is you think you shouldn't be anxious, or that you should try to control the anxiety, which only makes it worse. Trying to control stress and anxiety usually leads to the opposite. It makes it go up. Anxiety occurs because you care. There's no magic trick to make the anxiety go away. If you care about how you perform, you're going to feel anxious. So when athletes come to me and tell me they want to have no nerves or anxiety when they go to an international competition or the Olympic Games, I tell them that is the wrong goal. You're going to feel anxious, and that's normal. I tell them that the problem isn't that you have anxiety in these situations. The problem is you think that it's possible not to have anxiety. There's no way you're not going to feel anxious unless you just don't care about how you do. Thinking that you shouldn't feel anxious or that it's possible not to feel anxious is the problem. So make no mistake, anxiety in pressure situations is normal and can be your friend. The psychic and physical energy it can provide you can lead to optimal performances. There's a reason why records are broken and top performances occur in pressure situations. If you allow your anxiety to be there and don't try to control it, as we know that just makes it worse, you get a number of benefits. Your strength can improve. Think of mothers lifting cars to save their children. Your muscles are ready for action. Your motivation and energy goes up. Your pain tolerance is better. This can go a long way in sports situations. Your ability to focus increases. It also makes you seem like you have passion, so imagine doing a presentation or pitching to investors. If you don't feel any activation or anxiety, you're going to come across as flat. This also works in job interviews. When you're feeling anxious and activated, it makes you seem more interested. These benefits only occur if we allow our anxiety to be there. So we need to change our relationship or our attitudes towards anxiety. So next time you start to feel those nerves, instead of trying to control them or stop them, embrace them and reappraise what it means. It may mean that you're amped, you're pumped, you're ready to go. So next time you're in a high pressure situation, welcome your anxiety with open arms. Say to yourself, glad you could be here, my friend. Now let's do this. If you like this content, please hit the like button. If you want to get more content like this, hit subscribe and the notification button to get alerted when new videos come out. I left a link below to 5 things you should be doing every day to boost your performance. So until next time, keep moving forward.